Do you consider the countries of Russia and China as enemies, friends, or something else? And explain your answer.
I think China is something else one day and an enemy the next day. I don't consider them a friend. Simply because they hold right now too many cards. They have too much power, which we have given them. So no, I do not think China is a friend. I think there's something else that an enemy is according to what day of the week you're talking about. And Russia is also the same note. Russia is out for one reason and one reason only. It's for Russia. It doesn't care about any interest in any other nation.
Well, I went to China last year in June as part of my MBA program, and the people of China are very gracious and they're very kind, and they really do like American citizens. Their government, however, is tyrannical and oppressive. It's a communist regime. But the people of China really and truthfully love what we have here in the United States. And our relationship with China, and to a lesser degree Russia, is symbiotic. You know, they need us and we need them right now. They are financing a very large portion of our debt. And if they ever decide they don't want to, we will be in serious trouble. So, I consider them to be somebody we need to have on our side right now.
Well, historically, they've been communist, Russia and China, and therefore at odds with our capitalist system here. I believe they were actively our enemies. At this point in time, I don't believe they're our enemies. I think they're growing warmer toward us with Obama's presidency. I feel that we should still hold them at arm's length. I do not regard them as friends.
The countries you mentioned, I'd be on a trust but verify relationship with. They are the reasons that the United States should stay strong militarily, financially, culturally, because of the wild card nature of the relationship with them and the leaders that come and go based on power and force versus will of the people. So I would be careful, cautious, open-eyed, and checking behind. And I would love for us to regain the financial dependency that we seem to have on China right now. I would love to take that back.
Where this question starts with you. The Declaration of Independence contained many grievances of which taxes were one. Can you name some of the other ones, or what are some of the other grievances to the king, and do you see any parallels in today's world?
Besides the making taxation without representation.
Correct.
No, I can't say anything specifically besides that one.
Well, I have my Declaration of Independence with me, but I'm not going to be able to look it up. But there were a good number, I think, of mainly had to do with taxes and wanting to free us from their arbitrary, non-representative kind of control over us.
My favorite, and I'm reading it, is our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. And if we look at what's happening this weekend and the calls and the letters we have made, I would say we need to declare ourselves away from what's happening in Washington, D.C. So it's interesting what they faced all those hundreds of years ago. We are facing the very same thing. Different technology. They couldn't email the king back then, but the same disgust at what they were doing.
Also, from the Declaration, it says, he has dissolved Representative House repeatedly for opposing with mainly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. And I think that's the biggest thing we're facing right now, also, invasion of the rights of the people.
Would you support a campaign for helping families with incentives for employers?
Campaign for healthy families with incentives for employers. If it was done at the local level, I think that's a fine thing, and a state level. I'm not happy with it at the federal level.
I think it's a local issue also that needs to be handled by the local community and by getting involved in our local health departments. I think it's something that we need to be involved in at home because, like we said earlier, the healthier we are, and when we're younger, the healthier we're going to be when we get older. I think it's something that we need to look at as across the board, not only for our children, but also for our senior adults, but it's something that has to be done locally.
Right. I think the overriding issue about these programs is that we all think they're great and they're full of good intentions, and we all want to be healthier in our communities, to have healthy children and us to live long and productive lives. That's valuable to us as a community. But it does need to be done at the state or local level, but closer to the people the better, because then the community can vote on it and decide how best to spend their tax money if that's what they want to do.
Considering our current financial situation, is it time to consider a reduction in the military budget?
No, our military men and women deserve everything they have and more. They have put their life on the line for us and for freedom, and we have cut back drastically. Our ships are old, we have fewer of them. Our airplanes are old, we have fewer of them. The technology required, it takes money, but that's what our taxes are for. That was the most important thing that Congress or a president are responsible for being involved in, is the protection of our citizens at home and abroad.
No, I do not. A prominent Saudi Muslim cleric wrote a treatise on the legal use of weapons of mass destruction against infidels. And that's what Osama bin Laden used to say he had the right to use weapons of mass destruction against Americans. And so, no, I think we're living in one of the most dangerous times in the history of the world. And there are nuclear weapons, biological, chemical. There's all kinds of weapons out there. And I think it kind of got me relaxed a little bit, thinking, it's not going to happen. Well, they're maybe not using them now, but they may tomorrow. So I don't think it's a time that we need to relax and dismantle our Army, our military. I believe Congress has given a mandate from the Constitution to provide for the common defense. And I think that's what we need to do. We are at war, and we need to remember that.
Well, providing for the national defense is one of those constitutionally authorized things that Congress can do. Having said that, I think we have 700 bases in 130 countries around the world. And so we are spending a lot of money on military defense. What I don't like is whenever it comes time to protect defense, it usually comes out of the ordinary soldier or Marines or airmen's back pocket. We don't, deliver on the promises we make to them when they sign contracts with us. We don't provide them with the highest quality equipment out on the field. We give that to paid contractors instead. So yeah, I think we are overstretched in the military, and we spend a lot of money. But I don't like the concept of compromising with our troops' lives and safety to save money.
I'm definitely against a reduction in the military budget. In fact, when it came to favoring a balanced budget amendment, that was this exception I would make, that the military, it would have to not be balanced, a balanced budget. If it were took for military reasons, that would be the exception. As having been in the Army back in the 70s, I can attest to the fact there's a lot of waste. Things could be done a lot better, a lot smarter with the money. Allocating large amounts and then not having it where it's really needed, so having to pay $20,000 for a screwdriver on paper because you really should have the money in a different area and for a different use is not correct.